Welcome everyone to the most important YouTube video I've ever produced on this channel. I have a really exciting announcement to make later on this video, but while you're guessing, why don't you join Billy and I for a gentle day trip into the English countryside. Welcome my friends to the most relaxing part of your week so far. The birds are singing, the sun is out, and we're heading to an amazingly beautiful English country church to perform for you some guitar and organ music, and we can't wait. Welcome to my channel. Together we're filming our travels to quiet country churches, playing music for organ and classical guitar, reading poetry and telling the stories of these ancient buildings. Today we're on our way to Boscombe, famous for its RAF airfield, Boscombe Down, which has been in use for well over a century. But the village has its own charm, and I bet you've never seen the church before. Welcome to St Andrew's Church in Boscombe. We're just 900 metres from the edge of Boscombe Down airfield, but you wouldn't know it in this beautiful, calm village. This church is normally locked, but it is used every month. Thankfully, we've got the key, so I'm delighted to show you around. The airfield started life as Royal Air Corps Red House Farm in 1917. Testing air crews for action in France during the First World War. Afterwards, it returned to agricultural use, before being brought back into service again in the Second World War. That's where its reputation began as an aircraft testing and research station. I'm fascinated by the meetings of different periods of our history, and how ancient churches gain a whole new significance as culture advances around them. To me, helicopters and planes don't distract from these buildings. They just emphasize how timeless they really are. Billy's outside taking photos, but this place is absolutely spectacular. There isn't any stained glass here. All the windows are clear, which is probably why it's so bright. It almost feels kind of French in a way, like Billy's car. But look at the backdrop to the altar. We just see sky and trees. It's absolutely stunning. It's so well kept in here. The acoustic is good. Look at the box pews, so charmingly rustic. Nothing straight and level here. These possibly go back to the 1600s, but they were reworked by the Victorians, like much of the materials in these churches. But there is certainly a more ancient feel to this building. Over here, there are some wall paintings. Those were covered over, believe it or not, in the 1930s, and then, fortunately, re-exposed, and they look magnificent. It's really moving, actually, isn't it, to think of the history this building has had and how layers of it can be covered over and then found again. I'm going to go and find Billy before we play some music. It's really nice in here. Here at the back of the church, this very charming little pipe organ. You can already tell that there's two keyboards here because we've got stops on both sides. We also have a luxury here, a full-size pedal board. However, it is quite small and the pedals are straight, which makes them harder to play. It's often a feature of more old-fashioned instruments. On more modern organs, the pedals are in a radiating concave shape and the pedal board is bigger, so if you're playing music like Widor, it's much easier if the pedal parts are complicated, or even Bach. But of course we have to get used to everything we're faced with. Behind there is the action for this organ. It has what's called a tracker action or a mechanical action, like almost all other village church organs. Before I switch on the electrics, this thing can actually be hand pumped. But fortunately it's been replaced with an electric blower, which makes my life much easier. You would have previously had an assistant to pump the organ. If you haven't watched The Organist's Dream at Fuggleston Church in Salisbury, then do watch that, because that's the one where Billy pumps the organ. The problem is the pumping makes so much noise, we may as well just use the electricity. Voila! Let's see what we've got. First of all, the Dulciana, the sweet sound, up inside that box. The flute. Which is really nice. And then down on the grate, that's what this lowest keyboard is called, always louder than the one at the top. Stop diapason, there are two stops, one for this half, one for this half, but they both make exactly the same sound. And then the open diapason, these pipes, that whistle is called a cipher and they're very common. Usually helps to pull out a few more stops. There we go, gets rid of it. And finally the principal. That's nice. And I can play all of the notes here with my feet as well. Just gives you a bit more variety, really. It helps you to play the keys on the manuals because you can play some of them with your feet, so you can achieve much more than if the organ didn't have pedals. And so on. So you can play a lot of music on this organ and we'll hopefully use it to its best capabilities here. Today, Billy gets the first word, because classical guitar is just the perfect accompaniment to the summer sunshine. That piece was Antonio Laura's Armida, a perfect piece of music for summer. Before I play the organ, I told you I had a really important announcement to make, and it is really, really important. Now that I'm much more confident producing films, I can continue to make YouTube videos once a week, but I can also add extra videos and extra articles, photos, demos of new compositions, and updates about my travels. And that, my friends, is called Patreon. It's also a place for me to answer questions which you pose in the comments, and newsletters, something to read while you're eating your scrambled eggs during breakfast, telling you what my plans are for this channel, and even providing extra performances and more organ music and more guitar music which isn't included on my Sunday videos. It's so exciting, I cannot believe it. To sign up to Patreon, go into the description below the video. You'll see the link there to my Patreon page, and from that you can sign up and choose one of the 3 tiers of membership so that I can reward you with so much more than I can give once a week. In the meantime, here, my friends, is one of the most beautiful hymn tunes ever composed. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide, surely one of the most beautiful English hymns ever composed. Next, it's Billy's turn again. Billy is only 19 years old. I went to Oxford and I was an organ scholar, and it took me a long time to learn how to play the organ. But Billy seemed to come out of the womb knowing what to do. And he has a real feel for music, and to me, all of the emotion in music is in the imperfection. The guitar is just the perfect way of demonstrating that, because playing the guitar is really manual work. The sound that it makes is dependent entirely on how you use your fingers. And that connection with the performer is where all the expression in music is. So I hope you appreciate that as you listen to Talis's Third Mode Melody. An ancient tune, of course, written in a church mode, the Phrygian mode it's called. So it's perfect for a building like St. Andrews. Talis's haunting and captivating Third Mode Melody, played at St. Andrews. Of all the churches in England, perhaps the special place for this one is in its links to the RAF. I've already said how much I love seeing the way culture grows around ancient buildings. It does not detract from them at all. Just think of all of the churches in London. Think of the Tower of London. The way buildings grow around these ancient monuments of our past is simply incredible, and they retain their relevance in this time. And for St. Andrews in Boscombe, its relevance is of course concerned with the armed forces, and specifically the Royal Air Force. So there's one hymn to complete the programme, and that's called the Airman's Hymn. It's set to the tune Eternal Father, Strong to Save, which you will all know well, but I wonder if you know the different set of words that are often sung to this for services for the RAF. O ruler of the earth and sky, be with our airmen when they fly, and keep them in thy loving care amid the perils of the air. O let our cry come unto thee for those who fly over land and sea. The Airman's Hymn, performed at St Andrew's Church in Boscombe. That hymn brings today's video to a close. I hope to see you on Patreon, but in the meantime, I shall be enjoying the remainder of this amazing, glorious English summertime weather before it returns to rain, I think, for my next video, which is at the village of Urchfont, one of England's 1,000 best churches according to Simon Jenkins, the writer. And apparently the ceiling in the chancel is just like the vaulted ceiling in Bristol Cathedral, so it's very, very significant there. There's also a Scarecrow Festival that's just taken place, but that's a whole different story. So, until then, have a fantastic week.